G'day viewers, welcome to another video. In today's video I'll be doing a whole pile of flat packs. This is a job that I'm doing for somebody else. I get a percentage of it. Now because these are covered in steel, none of them have been trimmed up at all, I'm getting a higher percentage because I'm going to go through so much more nitric acid and have rust to deal with, which is fair. What I've chosen to do, however, I've been sitting here for hours and hours and hours. So far it's taken 3 days, just when I can, sitting down, to trim the legs off. So now you end up with nicely trimmed flat packs. Now I don't see the difference between getting an extra percentage for the use of nitric acid or an extra percentage for my time that it takes to sit here and trim these. And believe me, it's taken a while. I've got quite a few done already and I've got a lot to go, as you can see. So there's a good percentage in there. So I was told that there was 4 kilos. I don't know, I didn't weigh it, I should have. But once I'm finished taking off all this steel, there won't be 4 kilos, even if there was to start with. So what I'm going to do is weigh it all after I've taken all the steel off, so that those who want to try and work out a yield can do so. And we'll have a nice weight of neatly trimmed flat packs. So I'll carry on trimming all these. It'll probably be another 2 or 3 days. Obviously I don't do it all day long. You know, life gets in the way and you do other things. That's when I can that I get into it, and I do like at least 3 or 4 hours a day, probably even 5 or 6 I reckon. So I'll trim all these up and show you the weigh-in when I'm done. I knew that would happen. Alright, I've got to round up all the ones that escaped. Back in a minute. Alright, so I picked up all the ones that escaped, and now we're back to 2,275 grams. 2,000 grams is 2 kilos, and 275 grams is 1/4 kilo, so there's 2 1/4 kilos. For those who like to work out a yield, now, I'm going to burn these, and instead of crushing them in the dolly pot, I'll be using my rock crusher. Now, when we were looking at this in the shop, there was another style, same thing, but it had legs, had a stand, and it stood up about this high. And underneath was a chute coming down, and you could put a bowl under there and catch all the dust. And what they did underneath was they got a really fine, thin cutting disc on a grinder, and they put some slits in here, only little slits, and then they welded a square tube over it, and that's what comes out. All the dirt comes down the tube, and you put a bucket under it. So for just having the ability to have that and the stand, which I could easily make, they were asking for quite a lot more. So I was happy to go for this one, and don't really need to have the chute underneath. You can just tip this over and pour all the stuff back out the spout, or you could open up the front. But it's not hard to just tip it up like that and tip it out. So I went for this one, and I think it's going to do a really good job of that. For those who want to see what it looks like inside, there's not really much need to undo this on a daily basis if we just tip it up. Occasionally there might be, if I'm doing ore, there might be some balls of gold that are bound up and stay in there. But once in a blue moon, I think I'll take this off and just check it, just for maintenance as well, because I've got to keep an eye on the shackles in there. So there's 2 shackles, and they fly around. This thing moves around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the shackles just smash them to pieces. It's easy enough to replace a shackle when they're worn. So that's what that looks like inside. So like I said, there's no need to keep taking this off. It's easy enough to tip it up. Alright, so now I'll get the fire going and start roasting these flat packs. Now, one thing that really irritates me is when people say you can't roast ceramic chips, you can only do plastic. That's a load of bull, because I do mine all the time. And also people like Mike from Amiga Geek 64, he says you have to do plastic separate. They're processed in a totally different way. That's a load of bull. I always put all my chips, plastic or ceramic, makes no difference whatsoever. I put them all together, I roast them together, and crush them together. I don't understand why people think that there's a difference. So for those of you who are wondering, no, I'm not going to separate any plastic ones from ceramic ones. There's no need. I've never had dramas with crushing either ceramic or plastic. And I've never had dramas roasting either ceramic or plastic. They've always been done together. I don't even want to look in there to see if there's any plastic ones. As far as I'm concerned, they're all going to get processed the same way. Alright, so let's get this fire going. I've got to get my partner to help me because I'm still on crutches. While I'm waiting for the fire to get warmed up, which she's busily doing right now, I want to let you guys know I'm still having issues with the program. That's why you haven't seen many videos out. Somebody was nice enough to come to my rescue and give me a program, and I'm trying to get used to it. It's like totally different to anything I've ever done before. It's all worded differently, and the tutorials aren't very good, but I'm getting there slowly. And as soon as I can sort out an issue where I can actually get a movie made, I'll be able to upload them. Hopefully this will be the one. Otherwise there might have been one just before this. And I had an issue with, first I was told there was not enough room on my hard drive, and that's why my program was playing up. So I went and took all the clips of videos that I had been making, about 3 videos worth, took them all off my hard drive, and I put them on my external hard drive so that I could free up space, and then hopefully the program would work. Well, the program still didn't work, and for some reason my external hard drive has been corrupted. I haven't had any luck getting the data off it. I went to a computer shop and they want $300. That's just insane. I'd much rather just start the videos again. I've now left it with a friend who claims that they can have a look at it, and as yet haven't had any word back on it. So I don't know if I'll be able to recover the data or not. So not only have I not been able to make movies, but I've lost all the data for movies that I was trying to make. That's the only reason you guys haven't heard from me, apart from little ones that I've been able to send with my mobile phone. Hopefully, if you're watching this, that means I've got it all sorted. So the fire should be ready now. I'll go and get these roasted. There's the first batch done. See, ceramic or plastic, doesn't matter, they go nice and white. Now they're going to cool off before I put them through the crusher. And I've got another batch happening over there now. I'll just put those in. Okay, another batch done. They're nice and white. I only put about a centimetre thick on the bottom. That way they all get oxidized and they all get heat. If you go too thick, then the ones in the middle don't get the heat or the oxygen. And once it looks nice and white, I pick it up, if I can get this stupid thing working, and I give them a shake like that, and I get them all shaked up in there. Shaked up, shaken up. And I'll put some more wood around here now. It's getting late now, so pretty soon it's going to be too dark for you guys to see. I'll just carry on doing this while the fire's going. I don't want to have to start another one tomorrow. And hopefully try and get all these roasted tonight. Okay, so they can all cool off. I'll just do the whole lot tomorrow. I won't worry about crushing them tonight. I'll just get all these burnt and put into here. Okay, so that last batch is done. They're all nice and white. Let it burn out last night, so just kept going until the fire went out. Now, it's still a bit warm. It's halfway through the next day. Got pretty hot. Okay, so now these can get crushed. I'll take them up to the table and get the rock crusher going. I've got my battery grinder out and I've connected it up. And these braces, they don't really hold it firm, they're just guides. And it feels like it's a bit wobbly. I don't know why. When I turn it on, it wobbles a lot. But I'm guessing it's probably part of it. I don't know. I've never had one of these before. So we'll try it. Let's see how it goes. I need to get the bucket sorted with a sieve. I'll do that in a second. That should probably be enough for now. Right. Alright, I'll go and get the sieve sorted. Alright, let's see what came out of it. I don't even know if it's done a good job. We'll find out now. Oh yeah, it's not too bad. I'm really not happy about how that moves around so much. I might see if I can change these, make something better, something that's somehow going to hold it better. I don't know how though, unless it goes into these screws. If I can put a hole in it and make it go into these holes here, like take this handle off and have that one go to there. I do have another one of these handles that I could use for this side. I'll have to make up different brackets. I'd rather it was rigid. So, alright, I'll put this down for a second because some of them fell over and I want to make sure I get it all. So this is how it turned out. A nice powder. And all the coarse bits are also going to go in there because they've also got gold on them, the gold plated legs and so on. I only sieve it so that I can make sure I get all the chunks. What I might do is put all this back in the pot, and then at the end, when it's just all the small coarse stuff, that can all go through again, and then I'll know that I've got it all. Let's try some more. So we'll put a few more in this time. So far, I like the way it grinds it up. Once I can overcome the wobbly part of it, I'll be happy. Sorry, I didn't realise you couldn't see. I'm going to get a funnel and chop out the very cone part of it and make it just big enough to fit in here, so I'll have a wider area to put these in, and then I won't be dropping them all over the place. Alright, swing this around. Battery's flat. I had a feeling it might be. Alright, well, I'll charge the battery up and I'll come back tomorrow and finish it off. Okay, I've just finished sieving all the material, and let that be shown to you. If anyone says you can't burn ceramic or plastic in the same way, or the ones that say you can't incinerate ceramics, they're talking out their ring. This is extremely fine powder. It's like talcum powder. It's so fine, and all that's in there is the chunky bits of wire and stuff. I know some people, when they do their chips, they separate the dust from all this stuff here. I don't personally see a point. It's all going to get treated the same way, so I just put it all together. But I want you to see, I don't know how well you can see this close up, there is nothing in there except wire, metal. There is no pieces of ceramic, it's just all metal. I always do my plastic and my ceramic in exactly the same way. It beats me why some people insist on talking rubbish and saying that you have to do them separately. It's not true. I mean, I've never seen anything get it down to such fine powder. Even the dolly pot doesn't do that good a job. So now I'm going to do the gravity separation. There's plenty of videos on that. Just to give you a brief rundown, I put water in there, let it settle, pour off all the dirty solution, which is just dust, ash, anything heavy stays in there. So I pour it from this bucket into this bucket, and then once this bucket, the outside one, is full, I tip most of the water out, leaving just a little bit in the bottom, and I'll do the same again, and I keep doing this until the water in here is clear. Then I tip out most of what's in here, and any heavy stuff that has made it across I tip back into this first one. I'll repeat the process, putting water in there, tipping it out, water in there, tipping it out, until the water that's been poured off is clear. And then whatever's in here, if anything makes it across, it goes back into here, and then I'm ready for acid. There's other videos out there, plenty of people have done videos. I've made a few videos, so if you want to see it, there's plenty there. I'll get that done, and then I'll show you when we're ready for acid. I've finished the gravity separation, and now I'm trying to get rid of any of this tap water from where I was using the hose out the front. So just carefully pouring off. Let it sit for a bit, it all builds up again as it drains down, and then pour some more off. Now I'm going to put some distilled water in there and totally rinse it free of any tap water. If you're worried about using a lot of distilled water, I know for some people it's a problem because it's either expensive or hard to get. Rainwater works perfectly fine as long as you don't collect it from the gutters where it's come off a roof. If you're going to use rainwater, you need to put a clean tub out in the backyard somewhere in the open where rain falls into it and doesn't go past any roots, any trees, any leaves, any roofs. You don't want it to touch anything, just come straight from the sky into a container, and then it'll work perfectly fine. And there would be no contamination, no minerals. So I just got to keep rinsing this off. I think, I have a theory, right? I think that on the back of these are the inserts from the disc, the chips. There's that silver coloured square, and I think that's actually silver because it's supposed to be copper like that. So this is all copper, but for some reason it has this silver patch on the back. Now I believe that might be where the silver comes from when you do IC chips and you get silver. So I want to make sure there's no chlorinated water in there at all. So I'm going to totally rinse this with distilled water until I am 100% certain there's no chlorine left in there. Okay, that's been completely rinsed out about 20 times. I'm 100% certain there's no chlorinated water in there. Now, it's too big a batch to do in one beaker. The acid would never penetrate at all. And I think it's probably too big for even 2 beakers. So I've got 3 beakers lined up. They're tall form beakers, which is good so that if there's any reaction, it's got a fair way to go before it overboils. I'm going to divide this up evenly into those 3 beakers. Now it's evenly divided. I'm putting distilled water in all 3 of them. Just enough to cover it all. And now I'm going to put nitric acid in there and put them on the heat. And I want to do a nitric boil to get rid of any copper, any other base metals that are in there, dissolve any silver, which we can recover later. All I want left behind is the gold. Alright, so the nitric bath is finished. Each time I put nitric in there, I could get a smallest reaction and then it just fizzles out in a matter of minutes. Even if I put a lot of nitric in, it just fizzles out. So I'm going to assume that most of the base metals are gone. There might be just a tiny bit left, but that's alright. So now I'm just going to let this cool down and settle. As most of the residue settles, I'll be able to pour this liquid off and then give them a good rinse. And I'll still leave them in the 3 beakers. And once I've rinsed it all and gotten rid of all this solution, then I'll be able to put aqua regia in each one of them to dissolve the gold. Now, it's taking a long time to filter these 3 batches, so I've got quite a few funnels happening, just to try and speed things up a bit. And what I'm going to do is any sediment that has passed from here into the funnels, which wouldn't be much, we're making sure that the smallest amount goes in, if any at all. But just in case there's any gold in the sediment that's gone into the funnels, these filters will go back into the solution when I put AR in there, so that any gold that might be in there will also get dissolved. I don't think there will be, but I'm not taking any chances. This is for someone else, so I'm making sure I get every bit. Otherwise, those filters would have just gone in my paper storage. But so just letting you know that there will be some filter paper going in these batches. This is pretty close to being finished. You can see the gold in there. There's a lot of gold. I'm just going to work on one at a time. I've got the other 2 back here, but I'm going to get this one clean until the water is not murky like this, and then I'll put that aside and I'll do the next one and the next one. See, it's got a lot of copper solution in it, and I'll just do one at a time. It's so much quicker, easier. Okay, so I got one of them filtered until it's clear. I wanted to get rid of any of the murkiness like this here. This isn't like dust, dirt. This isn't copper. Basically, it's just mud, dirty water, and I want to get all that out so I have a nice clean gold solution. So this one over here has filtered properly, and I've just put hydrochloric acid and a little bit of nitric. We're going to start dissolving the gold. I'll do them one at a time. So this one here will be ready next, before this one. It's had more washes. You can see this is your blue. This is just dirty water, residue from the mud and ash. So I'm going to get all that off before I put the aqua regia in here. This will be the last one, the dirty one, that's going to have most of the sediment in it, and probably put the filters in here as well. Normally when I do my gravity separation, I'm very thorough, and I get lots of the ash off, and it should look like this, just dirty water and sediment. But I was paranoid and second guessing myself, which is always a bad thing, because I know normally I don't lose gold. I've tested it so many times, but in this case, since it was for someone else, I poured some of the sediment from the second bucket back into the first one, and this is the result. I don't know how well you can see. There's the sediment and there's an ash layer. Now that ash is going to block up all my filters. It's going to be a nightmare to filter. So I know in future not to second guess myself. I know I don't lose gold, but in this situation I just panicked. And yeah, so in future I make sure I don't put all the stuff from the second bucket back in the first one after I've done the final rinse. So now I've got to deal with all that. Okay, so where's the I'm up to? This is beaker number 1, and it's absorbed all the gold it's going to absorb. There's no more reaction when I put nitric in. So I'm filtering it at the present moment to get the sediment out. You can see it's coming through a nice yellow colour, but in bulk it starts to darken. There might even be some fine particles of the sediment that's gone through, I don't know. But once I have that all filtered, all of this into the filter and rinsed it out a few times, make sure I get all the gold juice out of it, I'm then going to run that through another funnel with some cotton balls in it, and that should make sure there's absolutely no particles whatsoever in the gold, and then I can drop it. So that's beaker number 1. This is beaker number 2, and it's got the paper in there, the filter papers, and that's still reacting nicely. There's beaker number 3. It's reacting but not as strongly as this one, so that one there will probably be next. There's no rush because I'm still waiting for this anyway. So by the time I'm finished here, I estimate that that one there will be done, and then I'll be just waiting on that one. So we're almost there. Alright, so it's a really stormy day today. There's been lots of thunder and heavy rain. It's not right now, but it's getting that way. It comes and goes. Most of today you're not going to be able to hear me, so I just quickly popped out while it's calmed down. One beaker has completely been filtered this way with a filter paper to catch all the sediment. The fine particles still got through. Then I went through some cotton buds, and as you can see, the solution's nice and clean. This is beaker number 2. I've caught all the sediment in the paper. That solution will now go into here to be filtered along with that. And there's beaker number 3. I'm just going to continue along. You're not going to be able to hear me most of the day, so I'll just keep going with it, and I'll be back hopefully tomorrow or the next day with a nice solution ready to drop the gold. Well, these have all been filtered through paper and then filtered through cotton balls, and now they're getting filtered through cotton balls a second time to get them nice and clear like this. This solution's been done already, so when these are all done, they'll go in this one most likely. But these beakers are all looking disgustingly dirty. This one's a nice clean beaker, so I'll have to clean one of these two, and there's no room for any more stuff to go in here, so I have to put it in this one and have half and half, so I can put the SMB and water in there. And hopefully these finish filtering soon, and I'll be able to drop the gold today. Okay, I've got a very concentrated solution of SMB. My powder's gone all hard, so I've had it on heat to boil, and it does help to dissolve some of it. So it's always hard to know exactly how much SMB to make. Like I said, it is very concentrated, and the pieces that aren't dissolved don't matter, they'll dissolve in the solution. So I'm going to pour this into both of them, and I'll just do a status check later on to make sure that I've got all the gold out. So I'll put half in here, half in here, a bit more than half, It's going brown already, which is nice. Well, there's some SMB in the bottom that hasn't dissolved. That'll dissolve in time. And just gonna let this settle now. As you can see, it's gone nice and brown. I'll come back and check it once this is all settled down. Do a status check. If I need to, make some more SMB, because these aren't, well, they probably will dissolve by then, but they're not dissolved now. My whole batch of SMB went hard. I don't know how. I had it in an airtight tub. Probably just the humidity here in Australia. So I just crush it up and use it anyway and hope for the best. No point wasting it. It's the next day and there's a nice layer of gold at the bottom of both of those. As you can see, there's a dirty solution, which means there'll be dirty gold, but it might not even be all precipitated yet. I'm going to do a stannous test and find out. That one's negative. And try this one. That's negative too. Good. So what I'll do now is I'll pour off the solution as close to the gold as I can and go through the wash process. Now, I've been informed that my videos are boring, too long, too repetitive. So I'm not going to show you the wash procedure. I'll just get back to, once I've done the wash procedure, I'll refine it again. I'll come back then. Okay, so the gold has been re-dissolved in aqua regia. I've had ice in there to cool it down. Now it's all melted. Now I've got some dissolved SMB. I'll pour it in. Nice colour change. Just let it sit now till it all settles. It's the following day and the gold has dropped pretty well. There's a nice thick layer on the bottom there. So I'll pour this off. I'll give that a wash and melt it up. I'm not going to show the wash procedure, try and keep the video short. Alright, I got the gold into the melt dish. I was predicting 8 grams or better, thinking that it was just over 2 kilos, and ICs have 4 grams per kilo on average. So the flat pack should either be the same or better. It looks like there's a fair bit there, but I don't think there's going to be 8 grams or better. I don't know. I could be surprised. It just doesn't look like it. So now, take it round to the melt section and melt it. Okay, I'm slowly working around the sides to get all the gold that's travelled up the side of the dish. And I'll work my way down into the middle. So I like about melting wet gold, you don't have to worry about it blowing out of the dish. And quite a bit of it had risen up the sides, so I'm just working it down. I'm hoping there's going to be more than 8 grams. I would assume that flat packs having 4 legs on 4 sides have to be better than ICs having legs on 2 sides. So it makes sense to me that the gold count should be higher. Okay, so that's all down off the sides. I've only got it on a low heat at the moment. I just want all the gold to form a crust. Once it starts looking like it's melting and it's not blowing around in the dish, then I can put the heat up. I think it's only going to be a small button by the looks of it. I don't know why. You never can tell until it's painted, until it's all melted. This torch gets so heavy after a while. There's a long hose. I know you can't see what's going on in there, but it's all slowly starting to come together. Alright, so I should be able to crank the heat up a little bit more now. Well, that's pretty bad. There's nothing left in the dish, and that's all we got. A tiny little bead. I am lost for words. I've never seen such a small amount come out of a batch. So I'm going to have to go back, trace my steps, look in the gold wash flask, see how much is collected in there. It's got to be somewhere, because that can't be right. I'll do all that, and if I find it I'll let you know. Otherwise I'll weigh that up and see what it is. Okay, so we're draining my gold wash flask, and there was a fair bit of gold in there, but it's not all from his job. There's gold in there from other jobs as well, but it wouldn't be a whole lot, so I'm just going to see whatever collects in the bottom and go from there. If it's way more than, say, 9 grams, then I'll cap it at 9, because 8 or 9 is what I'm predicting. I recovered the gold that was in my wash flask. There's nothing down the bottom now, as you can see. That's just sitting on the table. There's nothing in there. And it's not chunky granules, it's very fine powder, which usually means it's not going to amount to much. But it is what it is. It's all I got. And I definitely got all the gold out of the residue, because I always make sure I get it all out. I've tested it plenty of times and always get it out. So if I don't get at least 8 grams, then I'm going to have to assume that these are a poor quality chip. It makes a huge difference between the age of chips and the manufacture of chips as to how much gold there is. So I'm going to give this a wash, go through my whole wash process, and put it in the melt dish, and then see what we've got. I weighed up the other little button that I got, and there was only 0.5 gram. It's pitiful. So I'm really hoping there's 7.5 grams at least here, and I doubt it very much. I'd be lucky to get 2 grams, I think, out of this. So I'll wait and see. Well, guys, this was pitiful. This little bead is the original one I got, and I went right back through all the different processes to check my work. I even tried to do a second extraction of the sediment, but there was nothing in it, because I'm pretty thorough when I first do it. There was a tiny bit of gold in my wash vessel where I pour off my gold washes, and that's it there, 0.16 of a gram. And this is what I originally got, 0.74 of a gram. That is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. And I spoke to the guy I got the chips from, and I said, these are a bad batch, where'd you get these from? And he told me he had the same deal. He put a whole pile through the blue bowl and there was nothing there. He couldn't believe it. So that goes to show you, not all flat packs are any good. You know, some are, but not all of them. He gave me a different batch, which I'll do soon, and that's from a totally different supplier, different contract that he had, and so different boards, different place that he got them from. I can only hope that they're going to be better. But this is ridiculous. I'm not even going to try and take a cut from that. He can just have what's there. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're as shocked as I am. I cannot believe it. I'm bewildered. See you on the next video.